So choose two candies. Don't eat it right away because I have instructions for you guys after you eat the candy. In the social service field for about 12 years. And out of the 12 years, 5 years out of the 12 years, I've actually been a registered social worker. Now, for the past year, I kind of entered into more of life coaching, life skill facilitation, and that's because I really felt that people were looking to other resources for holistic wellness when it really comes from within. So I wanted to teach people one-on-one how to gain sort of the skills that they need to be more self-sufficient in life. So that's really what brings me here today. So we're going to talk about bullying, as Cheryl was saying. And bullying is a really interesting topic for me because I was bullied. I actually went to this school a long time ago. Don't ask when, just a long time ago. And I lived in Woodbridge for probably about 25 years. So as you can imagine, there was just a lot of Italians here. So I sort of faced a little racism, but not only that, I was in a coma as well. So coming out of the coma, I had a limp. So people teased me because I was a different race and because I had a physical problem. But what I wanted to tell you, especially the young ones here, that if you guys are being bullied, that you really shouldn't keep that to yourself. It's really something that should be shared, and especially with somebody that you trust, right? It shouldn't be kept to yourself. Today we're going to introduce the effects of bullying and the places that it can occur. We're going to educate parents on what they can do individually and in relations with the child's school to reduce bullying. And then my favorite, we're also going to practice social and emotional learning skills. And these are skills that your children can learn so that it's sort of like a preventative method for bullying. Okay, so bullying has become a big phenomenon in our society today, and it has had negative effects, and it could cause problems for those being bullied, the bullies themselves, and those that actually look on. So for all three participants, what can happen, they can develop thoughts of suicide, general anxiety disorder. Does anybody know what that is? That's really just like a nervousness to be outside. So one example of that could be agoraphobia, and that's being afraid of going outside, meeting different people, maybe getting a disease, germs. They're just afraid of being outdoors. Panic disorder, poor academics, prolonged emotional relapse of bullying or aggression, which is something that happened to me when I was bullied. Social anxiety, having trust issues, and the inability to receive compliments or positive feedback, and low self-esteem, as well as post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, with this list in mind, the question remains, what can we do to stop this? So there is good reasons to believe that a cooperative initiative can provide solace. So you know that phrase, no man is an island by themselves? Well, we can actually use that phrase in regards to bullying. So before we actually look at other means of combating bullying, let's actually define it. So there's many definitions out there, but the one that I thought was best was Wikipedia. And what Wikipedia says is that bullying is described as a use of force or coercion to abuse or intimidate others. It's a behavior that is habitual and involves an imbalance of social or physical power. Now that can include verbal harassment or threat, physical assault or coercion, and may be directed repeatedly towards a particular victim, perhaps on race, religion, gender, sexuality, ability. The victim of bullying is sometimes referred to as the target, and bullying can be defined in many different ways, but three consistent types of abuse would be physical, emotional, and verbal. It typically involves a subtle method of coercion, such as intimidation. Okay. Now, in the definition above, it made reference to bullies as targets. Now, they talked about different indifferences. Does anybody remember the different indifferences that people could be made fun for? One was race. I actually didn't mention that, but I was going to add that in myself. Anything else? Religion, sexuality, and what was the last one? Ability. That's right. So there has been a movement of intolerance, and what that really means is you're not really getting along with people based on what society sees as normal. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you different scenarios, and you're going to tell me which one is either an example of those to be bullied or one seen as normal in society. And I say normal like this because to me there's really not such a word as normal people, because everybody's different in their own way and they should be accepted. So anyways, we're going to go to this scenario, big social issues. But along with that, it can occur in neighborhoods where kids gather, on the school bus, over the internet, on your phones now, within your home, or generally where anybody gathers. So essentially what you should take out of it is that bullying is basically when people intimidate or belittle people. And as you can assume that can actually happen anywhere, right? For instance, I'm not sure if you heard of Amanda Todd. She was bullied, and it was cyberbullying, right? And that cyberbullying ended up in her school. Like, the kids got a hold of the picture and was teasing her for that, and she attempted suicide. I think it was about 3 or 4 times before she was actually successful in that. But her whole journey was not a pleasant one, and it started over the internet. Okay, so possible warning signs of emotional distress and possible suicidal tendencies. So increasing eating habits. So if you notice your child not really that big of an eater, but one day starts binging, that's consuming a lot of food in sort of one sitting, that there could be an issue there. Or maybe eating a lot of food and then going to the bathroom, which indicates bulimia. That's eating a lot of food and then sort of vomiting it out, or diarrhea. Or if they're exercising excessively, just out of the norm, doing things that they normally wouldn't do. Again, with their sleeping, if you notice a change in that, so insomnia or restlessness, that's a good indication that they're going through something emotional. If you notice that someone is now wearing longer sleeves than they used to, or long pants, and they're not really that type of person, but you notice that they have been doing it more than usual, then that can indicate cutting or self-injury. Missing supplies of alcohol or drugs within your cabinet, loss of enthusiasm or interest of usual activities. So you guys mentioned that you like football. So one day if you came home and you're like, I don't want to play football anymore, usually that's because there's something on your mind, something that's very emotional, and you don't know how else to verbalize it. Hopelessness, pessimism, social isolation, and expressing a desire to die or giving away valuable possessions. Okay, so what can parents, teachers, leaders, and the community do to eliminate bullying in school? And this is individually what we can do. So we can provide support and kindness to those that are different from us. So, so if you see a girl carrying a Spider-Man lunchbox, go and talk to them. Or if you see, one thing that I used to do in school is if I saw someone maybe sitting in the corner and they looked sad, I would actually go up to them and say, you know, is everything okay? You know, things like that. So going beyond your means just to be kind to somebody. Having low tolerance for bullying. So if you actually see someone bullying someone else, step in or tell a teacher, but don't let it persist. Teaching your kids social skills, and that's something that we're going to practice as well today. Obtaining a professional that your child can talk to, and again, it's for those being bullied, the bullied themselves, and the witness, those that look on. Creating rules of anti-bullying within the school. One of the resources that I was actually reading was talking about a mother. She had a child being bullied, and she actually went to the school, spoke to the principal, the social worker there, so that they can come up with some ideals of how to stop bullying, how to put a halt to it within the school. Because the worst thing that we can do is actually see it and do nothing. You know, there's a saying that boys will be boys. Well, not necessarily. You know what I mean? Sometimes their habit needs to be, they need to be told that their habit is wrong and that they need to stop it. Teaching acceptance and tolerance, I said that before. Setting up parental support, because sometimes parents don't know what to do when they see their child maybe in a depressive mode. You know, they're lost of what to do. But if there's support set up for the parents, then they have a resource to go to, like maybe a peer support group or something of that sort. Examining your behavior as a parent or a role model. A lot of the time, kids, they learn more from what you do than what you say. And that's so true. Because, for instance, you could be at home and you could be yelling, say, at your husband because he didn't cook or whatever. And your child will see that and just think that if they go out and someone doesn't do what they want, they can yell at them in return. So they learn a lot from your behavior. Another book that I was reading was talking about, I think it was about a 70% of kids, they were less likely to be involved in bullying when there was a good rapport, a good connection between them and their teachers. So that's something that we should take note of as well. Having an ongoing systematic approach. So I was talking about maybe the parent support groups, but having it on a consistent basis, not just for a time when something arises, but continually. And the last one would be being educated about bullying, which is what we're doing tonight. Okay. So another way that we can prevent bullying is by creating a bully victim-free environment. So one of the books that I was reading, and I was kind of shocked when I read it, but it was saying that your child is actually more likely to be a bully than one to be bullied. And I think that's important for parents to take note of, because when setting up different resources for your child, your mindset will just be different, because you're seeing them as a bully and not one that's more helpless than you actually think, right? Examining parenting style again. So there is a parenting style called authoritarian. I'm sure you guys are aware. And that's when a parent is more dogmatic. They actually just tell you what to do. There's no communication. So they take that pattern of parenting and they model it when they're interacting with other people. And so instead of conversating with whoever they're speaking with, they're going to be rough and dogmatic and bossy, you know? Again, children learn social interaction skills by nonverbal cues and body languages and so forth. So there was also a study that I found really interesting that they did in Chicago at Loyola University. And after their study, they came up with 4 risk factors that every parent should really be aware of. So the first one is punishment that is inconsistent and ineffective, parental rejection or neglect, mistreatment or bystander of abuse. So if you see abuse going on in your home, then you're more likely to be a bully, and dysfunction within the home. Okay. So teaching your children social and emotional skills. So by learning these skills, your children will become more self-aware. They will have better self-management skills, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making skills. So as you can see, it's not just limited to overcome bullying, but actually by teaching your kids these skills, they'll become effective, self-sufficient actually adults later in life. So what I'm going to do now, if I can get some volunteers, I got 3. I need 1 or 2 more. Okay, so you guys come up to the front and we're going to have a little group session with one person just learning what they like and dislike, but the other person was learning as well what other people may like or dislike, right? Which helps them overall to interact better with another person, because they have now empathy. They know what the other person feels, what the other person is going through. So it's a very good skill for kids to learn. Okay, so seeking professional assistance for your child. So as I stated before, is that those being bullied, those being bullied, the bullies themselves, as well as those that look on, are people that can have side effects. So I put a list together of different people that would be great for your children to talk to. So it would be social workers, youth counselors or guidance counselors, life coaches or life skill coaches, psychologists or psychotherapists. Okay, so community response. So at the beginning, I talked about no man is an island by themselves. Well, that really speaks to the communal response. And in actuality, it's one of the best responses towards bullying. And basically, it's when the teachers, the child itself, the parents, different people within the community sort of come together and create ways of preventing bullying, so that if something should happen, there's actually sort of like a standard set within, say, the school of how to react when bullying occurs. Because no longer is it something that kids just do, it's actually a serious thing and people die from it. So setting up different rules and regulations of how to combat it within the school is very necessary. And that's not just for the school to do, it's for everybody, the community at large, to get involved with it. So this, the communal response, it also speaks to isolation, which I said was one of the effects of bullying. So a communal response will get the child that has been abused, bullied, involved as well. And so no longer are they in their room thinking that they're alone in this, but they know that they have people that love them, supporting them, and helping them come to some sort of resolution. So my question to you is, what are your next steps in preventing bullying? My hope today is that I have made you aware of your individual responsibilities, whether it's as a parent or a child. And I believe that we must assume our own responsibility in the matter of bullying before making steps of actually removing this issue.